So Paul realized that he didn't attain his full potential yet, nor did he excuse himself of the difficulty of his calling. So Paul pressed on to take hold of the one who took hold of him. He says, I press on. I move rapidly toward that objective. I hasten to it. I chase it like that girlfriend you wanted that's now your wife, or the one you wanted to be your wife. Like that job that was so far away that you now got because you worked hard for it. Whatever you consider to be most important to you, Paul said, that same kind of dogged determination that drove him to persecute the church is that same dogged determination that he has to lift up the church. How many know, many of y'all don't realize it, but some of the bents and some of the ways in which you are, or pardon me, were when you were unsaved, God didn't change your bent, He changed your motivation. You were persistent to go to the clubs. You stayed out all night partying. Now you stay up all night studying. So Paul realized that in order for God to release His best, he must shed some things. He must get real focused. He must be single-minded. Say one thing. Forgetting what's behind and straining what's ahead. Single-mindedness, single focus. Can you see it in the runner? The runner's straining. He's got competition next to him. He's straining. He's sticking his head out because he's got a finish line. To make all of his training was for this moment. You can't afford to quit now. A single focus with two movements, forgetting and reaching. God is saying that He wants you to focus. Decisions are not always, ladies and gentlemen, between right and wrong, but between better and best. Jesus said, when the eye is single, the body is full of light. Paul said it another way. All things are allowed, but all things are not helpful. All things are not expedient. Focus, say focus. It's time to examine your life and make sure that your priorities are clear, that your priorities are right. God says, focus and pursue my plan. First things first. First, start by forgetting what's behind. Oh, what do you mean? Ladies and gentlemen, looking back encourages the possibility of going back. You can't live life through looking at the rear view mirror. That's why the windshield is larger than that rear view mirror. A runner in a race doesn't keep looking back on what's behind him. How many know if he keeps doing that, he's going to trip and fall? Remember Lot's wife? Do you remember? Lot's wife, along with all the other people, these select group of people with Lot and his family were pulled out of Sodom and Gomorrah. But the Bible says as she was leaving, she didn't glance back. She pondered it. She reflected on what maybe she might be missing. Maybe it's better back there in Sodom and Gomorrah. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand the impact of that. Not only did she lose the best of life, she lost her life. How many people do you know that seem to be living life looking backwards? They lick their wounds and they count their losses and their regrets, their failures. I'm amazed when you think about the teams that we just knew were going to win. Arizona, Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, and even Tampa Bay. They all had winning seasons. But how many know it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. Give God the praise. And sometimes your previous victories you need to shed. Not the good things of the past, but licking your wounds of the past or preoccupying yourself about the good old days. The good old days are just that, good and old. What guilt from your past do you need to shed? That abortion, that job that you were fired from, that failed marriage. How do you move past this? Ladies and gentlemen, you can learn from the past. How many know you can't live in the past? Look at your neighbor and say, I will be a deliberate forgetter. Listen, if your eyes and heart are turned in the wrong direction and you don't deliberately forget, you will give place to the devil and confuse your soul and allow him to place you in a cage of your own making. Think about this. If Paul lived in the past, we would not have the message of salvation by grace and justification by faith. None of you all, including me, would be saved. The rear view mirror is for glancing, not gazing. If you fix your eyes on the rear view mirror long enough, you will crash.